She was America's most powerful celebrity chef. 3 Michelin stars. 15 million Instagram followers. A TV show that could make or break any restaurant in the country. But tonight, dressed in a worn delivery driver uniform, no one recognized Maria Gonzalez as she walked into Bella Trattoria's kitchen carrying pizza boxes. The head chef took one look at her brown skin, her humble clothes, and decided she wasn't worth basic human decency. What he didn't know. Hidden cameras were rolling. Her production team was watching from a van outside. And in exactly 24 hours, 50 million people would watch him destroy his entire career in less than 5 minutes. This isn't just a story about a celebrity going undercover. This is about what happens when people show you who they really are when they think no one important is watching. Bella Trattoria sat on a struggling corner in downtown Boston, its once pristine white facade now marked by weather and neglect. The red awning that had welcomed countless diners in its glory days was faded, several of its support rods bent at awkward angles. A handwritten "Open" sign hung crooked in the window, one corner held up with Scotch tape. But inside, despite its exterior struggles, the restaurant still held traces of its former elegance. Checkered tablecloths covered 20 tables. Vintage Italian posters lined the walls. The scent of garlic, tomato, and basil still wafted from the kitchen, a promise of authentic cooking that had once earned them 4 stars from the Boston Globe. That was 7 years ago. Now, Bella Trattoria was dying. Owner Giuseppe "Joe" Marinelli was 62 years old, with kind eyes that had seen too much stress and gray hair that seemed to have appeared overnight. He'd poured his life savings into this place 30 years ago, building it from nothing into a neighborhood gem. His wife had passed away 3 years ago, and without her steady hand in managing the finances, the restaurant had begun to slide. Desperate, Joe had done something he never thought he'd do. He'd applied to be featured on The Kitchen, the hit reality show where celebrity chef Maria Gonzalez swooped in to save struggling restaurants. The show was a phenomenon, part Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, part Undercover Boss, with Maria's unique twist of going undercover first to see how restaurants really operated when they thought no one was watching. 3 weeks ago, Joe had received the call. His restaurant had been selected. But there was a catch. Maria would be visiting undercover before the official inspection. The crew would film everything with hidden cameras. Joe wasn't told when she'd come or in what disguise. He was only told to run his restaurant exactly as he normally would. Joe had been both thrilled and terrified. His head chef, Blake Morrison, had been pushing for this opportunity for months. Blake was 34, a culinary school graduate who'd worked his way up from prep cook to head chef over 6 years. He was talented, ambitious, and according to him, ready for the spotlight that The Kitchen could provide. What Joe didn't fully realize was that Blake had slowly poisoned the kitchen culture. Without Joe's constant oversight, the owner was too busy desperately managing finances and schmoozing the few remaining customers. Blake had created a toxic kingdom where he ruled with intimidation, shortcuts, and barely concealed contempt for anyone he deemed beneath him. Tonight was Friday, dinner rush. The dining room was half full, which was better than usual. In the kitchen, Blake barked orders at his small team: Maria, a quiet Guatemalan prep cook; Tommy, a young dishwasher trying to work his way up; and Lisa, a server who occasionally helped with expediting. Table 7 needs their carbonara now. Blake screamed, slamming a pan down. What are you people, brain dead? Maria the prep cook flinched but said nothing, rapidly plating the pasta with shaking hands. Blake inspected it, sneered, then deliberately knocked it onto the floor. That's garbage. Do it again. And this time, try not to cook like a peasant. In the alley behind Bella Trattoria, a figure was adjusting a small camera hidden in a jacket collar. Maria Gonzalez, dressed in black pants, a worn red jacket with "Quick Bite Delivery" printed on the back, and a baseball cap pulled low, took a deep breath. In her hand was a phone showing a live feed of the kitchen from the 3 hidden cameras her team had installed that afternoon while Blake was out. She'd been watching for the past hour from the production van, and what she'd seen had made her blood boil. The way Blake treated his staff wasn't just unprofessional. It was abusive. And the food, while competently made, was being prepared with visible corners cut, old vegetables, reused oil, cross-contamination that would horrify any health inspector. But the final straw, the moment she decided to walk in right now instead of waiting until tomorrow as planned, was watching Blake throw food at Maria the prep cook and call her a racial slur under his breath. Maria Gonzalez had built her career on a simple philosophy: food is love, and kitchens should be homes, not war zones. She'd grown up in her grandmother's kitchen in Mexico City, learning that cooking for someone was an act of respect, care, and community. She'd fought her way through culinary school in Paris where, as a Mexican woman, she'd faced more discrimination than she cared to remember. She'd earned her 3 Michelin stars through excellence, not cruelty. And she had zero tolerance for chefs who abused their power. She picked up the stack of pizza boxes, actually empty, but convincingly heavy-looking, and walked to the back door of Bella Trattoria's kitchen. Her hidden camera was recording. Her earpiece connected her to her producer, Janet, in the van. Audio is good. All 3 kitchen cameras are rolling. Whenever you're ready, Maria, Janet's voice crackled quietly. Maria pushed open the door. The kitchen was small, cramped, and loud. The exhaust fan rattled. Pans clanged. Blake was in the middle of the space, sweating through his chef's whites, expediting orders with the manic energy of someone barely in control. "Excuse me," Maria said, her voice purposely quiet and heavily accented. She'd modulated her normal clear, confident English into something that would make Blake underestimate her. "Delivery for Joe?" Blake spun around, his face immediately twisting into annoyance. "We didn't order any pizza. You got the wrong place." "Says here, Bella Trattoria," Maria said, checking her phone. "Joe Marinelli?" "I said we didn't order anything," Blake snapped. "Can you not understand English? Get out of my kitchen." Maria stood her ground, confused looking. "But I have to get signature." "Are you deaf?" Blake's voice rose. "I don't care about your signature. This is a professional kitchen, not a homeless shelter. You people come in here, tracking God knows what." "Blake, maybe just check with Joe." Lisa the server suggested quietly from the expediting station. "Did I ask for your input, Lisa?" Blake whirled on her. "Mind your station." He turned back to Maria. "You. Out. Now." "But you haven't even seen the order," Maria persisted, the perfect picture of a confused delivery driver just trying to do her job. Blake stormed over, grabbed the pizza boxes from her hands, and threw them on the floor. "There. I've seen them. Happy? Now get your ass out of here before I call the cops and have you arrested for trespassing." The kitchen had gone silent. Tommy the dishwasher was staring. Maria the prep cook looked stricken, perhaps seeing her own mistreatment reflected. Lisa had her hand over her mouth. Maria Gonzalez, in her delivery uniform, slowly bent down and picked up the pizza boxes. When she stood back up, she looked Blake directly in the eyes, and for just a fraction of a second, her true self flickered through, the famous chef who'd made grown men cry on national television, who'd shut down restaurants with a single review, who'd built an empire on authenticity and respect. "I'm just trying to do my job," she said quietly. "Your job?" Blake laughed, a cruel ugly sound. "Your job is to take orders and drop off food. You're a delivery driver. You're nobody. So be nobody somewhere else." He made a shooing motion with his hand. "Go on. Get out. I don't want to see your face in my kitchen again." Maria turned to leave, but Blake wasn't done. He called after her, his voice dripping with contempt, "And tell your company to hire people who actually speak English next time." The back door closed behind her with a soft click. In the kitchen, Tommy the dishwasher whispered, "Dude, that was harsh." "Harsh?" Blake spun on him. "You want harsh? Keep talking and you'll see harsh." Now get back to work, all of you. We have a dining room to feed. Outside in the alley, Maria stood for a moment in the cold night air. Her hands weren't shaking from fear or hurt. They were shaking from barely controlled rage. In her ear, Janet's voice was tight with matching anger. We got all of it, Maria. Every word. Every camera angle. This is going to be explosive. Maria pulled off her cap, ran a hand through her hair, and looked back at the kitchen door. Through the small window, she could see Blake already back to yelling at his staff, the incident apparently forgotten. Just another delivery person dismissed and degraded. Change of plans, Maria said into her earpiece. We're doing the reveal tomorrow lunch service, not next week. I want Joe here. I want the staff here. And I want Blake to have no idea what's about to hit him. You got it, Janet said. I'll make the calls. Maria walked back to the production van, climbed inside, and immediately began reviewing the footage on the monitors. Every angle was perfect. Blake's face twisted in contempt. His aggressive body language. The way he'd grabbed and thrown the pizza boxes. The slur. The humiliation. But more than that, she saw the faces of the other workers. Their fear. Their resignation. Their acceptance of this as normal. That was perhaps the most damaging thing, not just that Blake was a bully, but that he'd created an environment where bullying was the accepted standard. You know this is going to destroy him, Janet said quietly, sitting beside her. He destroyed himself, Maria replied, her voice ice cold. I'm just going to make sure everyone sees it. That restaurant has a good owner who's struggling. It has staff who are trying their best. And it has a head chef who's toxic. Tomorrow, we fix that. She pulled out her phone and made a call. It was answered on the second ring. Joe. It's Maria Gonzalez. We need to talk about your head chef. The next morning, Joe Marinelli sat in his small office in the back of Bella Trattoria, his hands trembling as he held a cup of coffee. Maria Gonzalez, the real Maria Gonzalez, in her signature black chef's coat with her name embroidered in red, sat across from his desk, her laptop open, showing him the footage from the night before. Joe watched in growing horror as Blake berated, dismissed, and humiliated the delivery driver who was actually the most famous chef in America. When it ended, Joe looked physically ill. That's not. I didn't know he. Joe stammered. I mean, I knew Blake could be intense, but this. Intense is demanding excellence, Maria said, her voice firm but not unkind. This is abuse. And Joe, I need you to understand something. This isn't about one bad moment. This is about a pattern. We've been monitoring your kitchen remotely for 3 days. This is how he treats everyone when you're not watching. She pulled up more clips. Blake screaming at Maria the prep cook. Blake deliberately tripping Tommy. Blake making inappropriate comments to Lisa. Blake using ingredients that should have been thrown out. Blake lying to Joe about food costs while pocketing the difference. Joe put his head in his hands. 30 years. I built this place for 30 years. My wife and I, we made this a home. And I let it become this? You didn't let it become anything, Maria said gently. You've been dealing with grief and financial stress. Blake took advantage. But Joe, we can fix this. That's why I'm here. What do you want me to do? I want you to trust me, Maria said. Today, lunch service, I'm going to walk in as myself. The crew will be filming. Blake doesn't know I'm the delivery driver from last night. He's about to find out. And Joe, I need you there. You need to see this. You need to be the one to make the final decision about his future at your restaurant. Joe looked up, tears in his eyes. He'll be fired. After what I saw, he has to be fired. That's your call, Maria said. But yes, in my professional opinion, he should be. However, we'll also offer him something. Offer him what? A chance to learn. A chance to change. If he wants it. Maria stood up. But first, he needs to face what he's done. Be here at noon, Joe. And be ready. Saturday lunch service at Bella Trattoria was quieter than dinner. About 15 tables were occupied with neighborhood regulars and curious tourists. Blake was in his element, cooking with his usual aggressive efficiency, still riding the high of having put that delivery driver in her place the night before. At 12:30 p.m., the front door opened. A film crew walked in, 3 cameras, sound equipment, lighting. The diners looked up, confused and excited. Was this a movie? A TV show? Then she walked in. Maria Gonzalez, unmistakable in her black chef's coat, her dark hair pulled back, her presence commanding every atom of attention in the room. Behind her, Joe Marinelli, looking nervous but determined. Blake, hearing the commotion, came out from the kitchen, wiping his hands on his apron. When he saw Maria Gonzalez, his face went through a rapid series of emotions, confusion, recognition, disbelief, and then dawning horror. "Hello, Blake," Maria said, her voice calm and clear. The restaurant had gone completely silent. "Remember me?" Blake's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. His face had gone pale, then red, then pale again. "No. Let me refresh your memory," Maria continued. She nodded to Janet, who was holding a tablet. The footage from the night before began playing on the large screen one of the crew members had set up, visible to everyone in the restaurant. The diners watched in shock as Blake threw the pizza boxes, yelled at the delivery driver, made discriminatory comments, and dismissed her from his kitchen. When it ended, someone in the restaurant whispered, "Oh my God." Blake finally found his voice. I didn't. You were disguised, I didn't know." "Exactly," Maria cut him off, her voice sharp as a knife. "You didn't know who I was. So you treated me the way you treat everyone you think doesn't matter. Like garbage." She took a step closer. Blake involuntarily stepped back. "But here's the thing, Blake. I don't care that you didn't recognize me. What I care about is that you think it's okay to treat anyone, delivery driver, prep cook, dishwasher, anyone, with that level of cruelty and disrespect. This is a professional kitchen." Blake's voice cracked as he tried to defend himself. "It's high pressure. You of all people should understand that. You're famous for yelling at chefs." "I yell about food," Maria said, her voice deadly quiet. "About lazy cuts, about poor technique, about corners that shouldn't be cut. I never, ever yell at someone for who they are or what they look like. I never demean someone's humanity. And I sure as hell never lay my hands on someone or their belongings in anger." She turned to address the entire restaurant, the cameras capturing every moment. "This man right here represents everything that's wrong with kitchen culture. The machismo. The bullying disguised as intensity. The belief that cruelty and excellence go hand in hand. They don't. Some of the best chefs I know are firm, demanding, but respectful. You can have high standards without destroying people." She turned back to Blake. "Show me your hands." Blake, bewildered, held them out. "These hands make beautiful carbonara," Maria said. "I've seen your food. You're talented, Blake. That makes what you've done even worse, because you had the skills to lead with excellence. Instead, you chose to lead with fear." Janet stepped forward with more footage. This time it was the clips of Blake abusing his staff over the past 3 days. The restaurant watched in growing discomfort as Maria the prep cook was reduced to tears, as Tommy was mocked, as Lisa was leered at. When it ended, one of the diners stood up and walked out, dropping money on the table. Then another. And another. Within 2 minutes, half the restaurant had emptied. Blake watched his audience disappear, his career imploding in real time. "Joe," Maria said, turning to the owner. This is your restaurant. This is your call. Joe stepped forward. He looked older than he had that morning, aged by disappointment and self-recrimination. Blake, Joe said, his voice heavy, you're fired. Effective immediately. Clean out your locker and leave. Joe, please, Blake's voice broke. I can change. I can. You should have been better from the start, Joe said. My wife would be ashamed of what happened in her kitchen. I'm ashamed I didn't see it sooner. Blake looked around desperately, at the cameras, at the remaining diners, at his former staff peeking out from the kitchen. He found no sympathy, no support. Only the consequences of his own actions staring back at him. He stumbled to the kitchen, grabbed his knife roll, and walked toward the exit. As he passed Maria, she spoke one last time. Blake, wait. He turned, hope flickering stupidly across his face. Maria pulled out a business card. This is the number for a therapist who specializes in anger management and workplace behavior. And this, she handed him another card, is for a 6-week course on kitchen leadership and ethics. I'm paying for both. You're not irredeemable, Blake. But you need help. Real help. And if you ever want to work in a professional kitchen again, you need to do the work to deserve it. Blake stared at the cards, then at Maria. Tears were streaming down his face now. He nodded, unable to speak, and left. The door closed behind him with a gentle chime. Maria turned to the remaining diners and staff. I apologize that you had to see that. But sunshine, they say, is the best disinfectant. Joe's restaurant has incredible potential. The food is good. The space is beautiful. And starting today, we're going to rebuild this kitchen with respect as the foundation. She looked at Maria the prep cook, Tommy, and Lisa. If you three are willing, I'd like you to be part of that rebuilding. They nodded, tears in their eyes. Good, Maria said, smiling for the first time. Then let's get to work. The episode of The Kitchen, featuring Bella Trattoria, aired 3 weeks later. It was titled The Delivery Driver Who Changed Everything. Within 24 hours, it had been viewed 52 million times across all platforms. The clip of Blake throwing the pizza boxes went viral on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. #RespectKitchenWorkers trended worldwide for 3 days. For Blake Morrison, the aftermath was devastating. His name became synonymous with toxic kitchen culture. He received death threats, was doxxed, and found himself unemployable in the restaurant industry. Every application he submitted was met with immediate rejection. He sold his condo within 2 months to cover rent. His girlfriend left him. His culinary school friends stopped returning his calls. The world had judged him and found him wanting. For 6 months, Blake spiraled. He worked a series of degrading jobs: telemarketing, warehouse packing, late-night convenience store clerk. He was humiliated daily, treated as disposable, and for the first time in his adult life, he understood what he put others through. But Maria's business card stayed in his wallet. One night, at his lowest point, sitting in his tiny studio apartment eating instant ramen and watching his life savings dwindle, Blake pulled out the card for the therapist. He made the call. Dr. Patricia Okonkwo specialized in treating service industry workers with anger and control issues. Over the next year, Blake attended weekly sessions. He unpacked his childhood, his insecurities, the way culinary school had taught him that cruelty was strength. He learned to identify his triggers. He learned to sit with shame without lashing out. He learned, slowly and painfully, to be accountable. He also enrolled in the leadership course Maria had recommended. It was taught by retired chefs who'd run respectful kitchens. They broke him down and built him back up, teaching him that true leadership inspired, not intimidated. Meanwhile, Bella Trattoria was transformed. Maria's show didn't just expose Blake, it rebuilt Joe's restaurant from the ground up. She brought in a consultant to modernize the menu while respecting its Italian roots. She fundraised to renovate the dining room. She promoted Maria the prep cook to sous chef, Tommy to line cook, and Lisa to front-of-house manager. The episode's virality brought customers flooding back. Reservations were booked solid for months. Food critics revisited and gave glowing reviews. Joe Marinelli, for the first time in years, felt hope. But the most profound change was the culture. The new head chef Maria Gonzalez brought in, a woman named Chef Simone, ran the kitchen with firm but compassionate leadership. Mistakes were teaching moments, not reasons for humiliation. The staff flourished. 2 years after the episode aired, Blake Morrison was finishing his shift at a small community kitchen that served meals to homeless populations. It was volunteer work he'd been doing for 18 months, part of his therapy and his penance. He was washing dishes when he noticed someone watching him from the doorway. He looked up and froze. Maria Gonzalez stood there, in jeans and a simple sweater, no cameras, no crew. Just her. "Blake," she said simply. "Chef Gonzalez," he managed, his voice hoarse. What are you doing here?" "I volunteer here sometimes," she said, stepping into the kitchen. "I heard through the grapevine you've been showing up consistently for a year and a half. That says something." Blake's hands were still in the soapy water. "I'm trying," he said quietly. "I'm trying to be different. To do better. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm trying." Maria looked at him for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone and showed him a photo. It was Bella Trattoria's kitchen, gleaming and busy, with Maria the former prep cook wearing a sous chef coat, laughing as she plated food. "That's the kitchen you left behind," Maria said. "It's thriving now. Because the toxicity is gone." Blake nodded, unable to meet her eyes. "I'm glad. Are you still cooking?" Maria asked. "Only here. Volunteer stuff. I'm not ready to work professionally. Maybe I'll never be ready. I don't deserve." "Blake," Maria interrupted. "Deserve is a complicated word. What you did was terrible. But you've done the work, real work, to change. I've checked in with your therapist with your permission. She says you're one of her most committed clients." She pulled out another business card. Blake almost laughed at the painful déjà vu. "This is the head chef at a small farm-to-table restaurant in Vermont. His name is Marcus. He runs a kitchen that focuses on rehabilitation, hiring people with difficult pasts who want a second chance. He knows your story. He's willing to give you a trial position. Prep cook. Minimum wage. No authority. No cameras. Just you, a cutting board, and a chance to rebuild." Blake stared at the card, then at Maria. "Why?" he whispered. "After everything I did to you, to others, why would you help me?" Maria's eyes were serious. "Because I believe that people can change if they truly want to. But also because this isn't for you, Blake. It's for the next young cook who would have suffered under the old you. It's for every Maria, every Tommy, every Lisa out there who deserves to work in a kitchen that respects them. If you can actually become someone who adds to that culture instead of destroying it, then redemption serves everyone." She turned to leave, then paused. "But Blake, understand this, if you slip back, if you hurt someone again, if I hear that you've returned to your old ways, I will personally ensure you never work in food service again. This is your last chance. Use it wisely." Blake took the card with shaking hands. "Thank you, chef. I won't let you down." "Don't let yourself down," Maria corrected. Then she smiled, a small, cautious smile. "Now finish those dishes properly. I'm watching." And for the first time in 2 years, Blake laughed, a real, genuine laugh, tinged with hope. Maria Gonzalez stood on stage at the James Beard Awards, accepting the humanitarian award for her work transforming kitchen culture through The Kitchen and her various initiatives promoting respect and diversity in restaurants. In the audience, Joe Marinelli sat with his full staff from Bella Trattoria, which now had 4 stars from the Boston Globe and a waiting list for reservations. Also in the audience, in the very back row, sat Blake Morrison. He'd been working at the Vermont farm-to-table restaurant for 2 years. He was now their sous chef. He ran the kitchen when Marcus was away. He mentored young cooks with the same patience that had once been so foreign to him. He'd had slip-ups, moments where the old Blake threatened to emerge, but he'd learned to pause, breathe, and choose differently. He'd never spoken to Maria again after that day at the community kitchen. He didn't expect to. This wasn't about reconciliation. It was about transformation. As Maria gave her acceptance speech, she said something that made Blake close his eyes and finally, truly, forgive himself. We live in a culture that often celebrates the screaming chef, the Gordon Ramsay character, as if cruelty is the price of excellence. I'm here to tell you it's not. The best kitchens I've ever worked in were run by chefs who were demanding but kind. Firm but fair. Who understood that food is an act of love, and you cannot make food with love while treating people with hate. We can change this industry. One kitchen at a time. One chef at a time. One choice at a time. The audience stood in ovation. Blake stood too, clapping until his hands hurt, tears streaming down his face, not from shame anymore, but from gratitude. Gratitude that he'd been caught. Gratitude that someone had cared enough to not just expose him, but to offer a path forward. Gratitude that he'd found his way to becoming someone his younger self would have never recognized, but his current self was proud to be. The karma hadn't just punished him. It had saved him. And that, Maria Gonzalez believed, was the whole point. If this story moved you, if it made you think about how we treat people when we think no one's watching, share it. Because change doesn't happen in grand gestures. It happens in daily choices. In moments of deciding between cruelty and kindness. In kitchens, in delivery interactions, in every human exchange where power dynamics exist. Treat people like they matter. Because they do. And you never know, that person you're dismissing might just be the one who changes your life forever.